Alright, prepare yourself for what you're about to see because it looks like a tornado. So here's my room right before I left, which is about 10 hours probably or more into packing, but surprisingly I fit it into 3 bags, which was very successful.
Come back with an accent.
Alright, here we have the great trek all the way to the airport. Now you will see my father chasing after me, trying to fit inside my suitcase. Once I got to the airport, I had to take this tiny little train to get to my gate, which I'd never done by myself, so that was a little interesting, but thankfully I didn't get lost. I have a little bit of an obsession with escalators, which you will see in more of my videos to come. Not really sure why I took a video of my feet, but that's that. And it wouldn't be a good vacation montage without me taking a selfie and looking like a weirdo with my hair being weird. Here's my passport and my little ticket, and I'm off to the plane. Okay, so this next part was not really that important in my trip, but I just thought it was the cutest thing ever. I had to turn off the volume, but all the commercials that they had on the plane on my little TV in the seat in front of me, the people had British accents, so I just thought that was really cute and I had to film it. My mother just deserves a gold star because she ordered me a vegetarian meal for the plane, so that was delicious. And the purple light, I had to take a picture of it because go Pilots, our school colors, and we are on the little train which went from the airport to Piccadilly Station, which is where we were supposed to get on the tube to then take it to our flat. Now, the problem was I was supposed to meet 4 other girls at the airport, but I actually only met one because she got off the train and the others didn't follow her. So I just went with Jenna and we walked and got on our train and then met up with them. What you're seeing right now is a map of the tube, which we were going to attempt to find our way through in order to get to our flat. After we got off the train, at the station, we met up with the other girls and we attempted to ride the tube. Now you might be thinking, it can't be that hard. You can like go one direction, right? Wrong. It is the most confusing thing ever because you're underground, so it's hard to tell which way you're going. There are like 10 different lines that you can take, which means 10 different types of tubes. So there's the Northern Line, there's the Circle Line, and I've never been out of the country. Most of my friends have never been here. So we're just looking around, you know, we see, oh perfect, this train, this tube is gonna take us right to Angel Station. So Angel Station is like a 10-15 minute walk from our flat, so we just thought, perfect. Well, we get on and we're riding it, and we're saying, you know what? We're going away from Angel Station. Turns out, north, south, east, west, that actually matters on the tube. Which you might think, sure, of course, Nicole's dumb. How could she not know that? Well, because when you're underground and everyone has a big suitcase or 2 suitcases and a backpack, then it gets very, very confusing. And the tube stations are so hot, and everyone knows exactly where they're going. So if you don't know where you're going, you can get caught in these drafts of people, and it was just so difficult. So after a few too many wrong turns, we did end up at Angel Station and we started our walk towards our flat. Now, once again, you might think, oh, easy, no big deal, 10-15 minute walk. Well, with 5 of us girls, and no one has data to find the maps on their phone, it gets a little confusing. So we met some lovely strangers who showed us which way to go, and we started our little journey to our flat. So once we got to our flat, we went up and saw the teachers, and it turns out they had been looking for us because, of course, orientation was at 3 o'clock and we didn't get here until 4 o'clock. Now keep in mind, my flight was the last flight to get here, and I got in at 12:30. So it took us that long to find the flat, to use the tube, to use the train. So they were very happy that we were all together and alive. But we're actually in Russell Square, which is on our walk to school. And this is on our walk back to school, after school, going back to the Tube. All the buildings around there are just really cool. Our Tube is super hot and it's really gross, but I like looking at all the advertisements as we go up this escalator, which is seriously the biggest escalator I've ever seen, and sometimes we get lost down there.
Alright, so this right here is pretty much an example of why I don't have enough space on my phone. I did really like this exhibit though. We went to the History Museum of London, and the exhibits there were really different. So right here you'll see a bunch of pieces in the floor, which I thought was really fun to walk by and look at. Once again, another exhibit in the floor. I loved this place because they had a lot of clothes and shoes and just things that you wouldn't really usually see in a history museum, at least that I haven't seen. So I found it really interesting, especially the super wide dress I thought was funny. Another thing I really liked was this little example they had of the newspaper. It was just fun to read all the little life stories. And next we looked at the the Cauldron of London from when the Olympics were here. Now don't watch this if you get dizzy, but I loved this part and it looked like it was the real sky. It was just at the top of the museum. And just in case you missed out on the last one, here's another escalator video. London definitely has the largest escalators I've ever seen. Today we went to the Portrait Museum, which I actually really enjoyed. This first video is of older portraits, which definitely weren't my favorite. I liked more of the newer ones, but it's definitely important to understand what they used to be like before we can see the new ones, so I really liked it. This one, though, I really was not a fan of because of the bucket full of babies in the corner. I'm not exactly sure what I was supposed to get from that, but there's pictures of a bunch of people played really fast, so I really liked that. I'm really into the statues as well, especially the ones with the curly hair. I just always think about how much detail people would have to use to make them. Please ignore my finger in the corner. And then finally, this one they have of the woman. I actually sped it up, but it went slower, so it was harder to tell that the colors were changing, but I thought it was really beautiful. And then these next couple videos are outside of the museum. After every excursion we go on, we have some time after to kind of do our own thing and usually walk around and try and see what the locals are doing. And this guy was painting. He was collecting money, so you were supposed to put a coin on where you were from, which I actually thought was really clever, and I see a lot of the people who are trying to make money on the street do a lot more clever things here than what they do in Seattle. There's my tiny peek of the London Eye. You can see it, just the tippy top of it. And then we actually went to the M&M Museum, which was kind of gross because it smelled like very sugary chocolate in there. But it was 4 levels and kind of cool. But that was really fun. And then you'll get a little glimpse of the girls in my group. They're all so sweet, so fun. But we really it's nice to have just 7 people because we can all hang out together. Here is another street performer who I was just amazed by. I wish I could do that, but it looks like it takes so much strength.
This last Saturday, we got to go to Windsor Castle, and it was so amazing, and every building was so gorgeous, and it was a perfect day for it too because it was really sunny. So here's our little journey to the castle. The only thing I haven't liked so far is the Inns of Court walk, which we walked around the streets of London, looking at buildings and learning about the court system. I loved looking at the buildings, but the court situation, like all the details, wasn't my favorite thing just because it wasn't really related to our class. Also, shout out to my grandparents for this awesome green water bottle you see hanging from my bag. It's been the best thing I have here because I can just clip it to my bag and it's super easy to fold up. So just the other day, we actually went to this place called the Migration Museum. So it's kind of this hole-in-the-wall museum that the events they have there switch. So since it was the Migration Museum this time, we got to see all these stories about migration, and everyone was really unique in how they put up their work. So some people had it in journals, some people had it on the back of cans like you just saw, and some people had it on little pieces of paper, and it was kind of just like a collective, almost like community art rather than just artists. And then finally, the last big thing we did was on Thursday, and we went to see the musical Everybody's Talking About Jamie, and it was by far my favorite thing we've done here because the actors and actresses were amazing. The music was so good. I've seriously been singing it since we saw it on Thursday, and it was really fun. Also, the theater was pretty small, so that was really cool just to get to see kind of what musical theater is like here versus in the States. And we got to go as a whole class, and my teachers got to go, so that was really fun too.